CreepyCorner stories.
Hey everyone, welcome back to CreepyCorner stories. You know, diving into the dark web is always risky, but sharing these stories with you makes it worth it. I'm curious, where are you watching this from right now? Let me know in the comments below. I've noticed that these kinds of stories hit differently depending on where you are. It might even make the experience a little creepier. So, tell me, are you watching from the safety of your home or somewhere less secure? I worked for Secret Space Station on the dark web. I don't know who returned from space, but they aren't the astronauts we sent. Alright, so this is something I've never told anyone. Not in full anyway. I used to work for a secret space program. Not NASA, not SpaceX. This was something else. Something you'll never see on the news or read about in your textbooks. I didn't find the job on LinkedIn or Indeed or anything like that. I found it on the dark web. Yeah, I know how that sounds. But let me back up. This all started in late 2022. I was 24, broke and desperate. I had just dropped out of college, got ghosted by my girlfriend, and was bouncing between my cousin's couch in Queens and my friend's Airbnb in Newark. The economy sucked. No one was hiring. I was wasting my life on Reddit, Discord, and YouTube, mainly watching horror channels like Here's My Story or analog horror compilations. Funny enough, those stories used to creep me out. Now, they feel tame compared to what I lived through. One night, around 3 a.m., the cursed hour, I swear, I was scrolling through a forum I wasn't even supposed to be on. Some deep web thread buried under layers of Tor access called Astrodonautic Ops. No comments, just an old thread titled Need Remote Tech Analyst, 10,000 per week, no experience required, must not ask questions. Sounded fake, probably a scam or some elaborate ARG, but curiosity and desperation got the best of me. The link took me to a black page with white monospace text, super old school, like something out of a 90s hacker movie. It just said, "You are now being watched. If you are serious, type ready." Now listen, I'd messed around on weird forums before. I've seen those fake haunted webcams and sketchy mystery boxes on eBay, but this felt different. There was no branding, no edgelord aesthetic, just cold, efficient text. Something about that scared me more than any jump scare video ever had. But I typed ready. Within 5 minutes, my phone started ringing. No caller ID. I hesitated, let it ring, and then declined it. Not even a second later, my iPhone camera turned on by itself. I swear on my life. I stared right into it, and it blinked off. Then I got an email from nowhere. Like, literally no sender. It just popped into my inbox. It said, "Welcome to Ophiuchus Operations. You've been selected. First assignment in 36 hours. Instructions will follow. Don't tell anyone. We're always watching." Yeah, Ophiuchus, like the 13th zodiac sign. Creepy, right? And here's the part I can't really explain. My bank account updated later that day. $10,000, transferred from something labeled Saturn Logistics-R&D. I googled it. Nothing came up. Even tried DuckDuckGo. Nada. I didn't sleep that night. And when the sun came up, things just got weirder. Assignment 1. Track anomalies in satellite footage. They gave me access to this custom OS. It looked like a mix of old NASA control software and Google Earth on steroids, except it showed live footage from space, like real-time orbital camera feeds. I know, because I watched a dust storm roll over Cairo in actual motion. I even zoomed in on a McDonald's in Dubai and watched people line up in the drive-thru in perfect clarity. No lag. I wasn't allowed to record anything. The moment I even opened OBS or tried to screenshot, the software would crash and lock me out for 24 hours. They were monitoring me, obviously. Anyway, for a while, it was easy money. All I did was sit there from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. and flag any motion anomalies. Sometimes I'd see glints or flares that didn't match the sun's reflection patterns. One time, I saw a perfect triangle of blinking lights drift past the ISS, just off camera range. But no one commented, no explanations, just noted, continue. The first truly terrifying moment happened a week later. It was around 3:33 a.m. I remember the time exactly because I looked at my iPad when it happened. I was watching the feed from Sector 49, South Pacific, near Point Nemo, aka the oceanic pole of inaccessibility, basically the farthest point from any landmass. Suddenly, the feed started to distort, like VHS static, not the normal buffering glitch. I mean old TV horror movie static. Then, out of the static, I saw something, a pod, like a capsule, falling from the sky, breaking through the clouds. No parachute, no splash. It just vanished into the ocean without a ripple. I flagged it. 30 seconds later, I got a message through the software's chat. Do not flag non-compliant landings again. Final warning. What the hell is a non-compliant landing? That's when I realized this wasn't normal space work. They weren't watching the skies for accidents or tracking meteors. They were tracking landings. 3 days after that, my doorbell rang, which was weird because I was staying at my cousin's place and I hadn't told anyone about the job. I looked through the peephole and saw a guy in a plain gray jumpsuit. No logo, no emotion, just standing there with a small box. When I opened the door, he said, "You've been upgraded. This kit will increase bandwidth and processing. Do not tamper. Your assignments escalate starting tomorrow." Then he just walked away. The box contained a GPU I had never seen before. No label, just matte black with chrome edges. When I installed it, the software opened to new feeds, deep space visuals, not orbit, not Earth. It showed the black side of the moon. You know how they say there's nothing there? Yeah, that's a lie. I'm not saying I saw aliens. I'm saying I saw structures, towers, antennas, something that didn't belong. Some of them moved, not in a mechanical way, in a breathing way. The final feed showed a return pod coming back. I recognized it because it had the Ophiuchus logo on it, a snake wrapped around a 13-point star. It was drifting into Earth's upper atmosphere. Except, here's the kicker. I checked the manifest. The pod was supposed to carry 3 astronauts, but there were 4 figures inside, and one of them was moving when the others weren't. I stared at the screen, frozen. Then I got my final message. Your contract has concluded. Burn all devices. Do not follow the capsule. They paid me $50,000, all in crypto. My software access disappeared. The hardware melted itself. I swear, the GPU got hot and popped, like it shorted out by design. My screen went black, but I didn't stop thinking about that 4th figure, because a month later, one of the astronauts from that mission showed up on Instagram. His face was wrong. Not mutilated, not scarred. Just wrong. Like it didn't fit the way skin should. And when he posted a story at a Starbucks in LA, I froze. Because in the background, for just half a second, I swear I saw that same gray jumpsuit guy, staring into the camera, not blinking. I started seeing him everywhere. That astronaut, the one with the wrong face. He wasn't just some public figure doing a promo run. He was placed, like some puppet shuffled into events where he didn't belong. First it was the Instagram story, at that Starbucks in LA, right? But then, it was more. A week later, he popped up in a YouTube ad for some startup crypto wallet, wearing the same navy polo, same watch, same dead look in his eyes like he was reading a script he didn't understand. Then, 2 nights after that, I was on a Discord call with some guys from a private subforum, people like me, ones who had done work through astronautic ops. We were paranoid, never using our real names, keeping mics muted, all talking through text. But that night, one of us turned on his cam, against the rules. His screen flashed to life for barely 5 seconds, just enough to show his face and something behind him. It wasn't human. It looked like it was pretending to be. The body was lanky, wrong proportions, like the arms were too long for the torso and bent too far backwards. Its neck jerked, head twitching like it was buffering in real time. The skin was too smooth, like poured wax, and its mouth was stuck in a smile that never ended. He didn't turn the cam off. It just cut to black, and the message box below, his name, auto-typed. I let it in. We never heard from him again. His username went offline permanently. His Reddit was deleted. His crypto wallet, $80,000 gone overnight. We checked, emptied into a Saturn logistics node that didn't exist anymore. That's when I started to believe we hadn't just witnessed something come back from space. We invited it. I thought I was safe, that maybe burning the gear and cutting ties meant I was out. But this wasn't a program you left. This wasn't some sketchy deep web job. This was a trap, a portal, and we were the antennas. I started having dreams. They weren't nightmares. Nightmares you can wake up from. These were broadcasts. Each one started the same. I was floating, weightless, in a pitch black space, but not silent. There was always a low frequency hum, like the rumble of a machine buried beneath the earth. Then I'd hear a voice, not in English, not in any language, but I could understand it, like it was speaking inside my blood. It would say, "We remember what Earth forgot." Every single night. Sometimes I'd wake up with scratches on my arms, long thin lines like surgical scalpel marks, perfectly parallel, 3 inches apart. Other times, nosebleeds, not normal ones, black blood, thick and heavy, like ink. I went to a clinic near Flatbush. The nurse looked at me weird when she took the sample. Called in the doctor. They ran tests, didn't say a word, just stared at the screen. Then I was escorted out the back door and told to never return, like they were scared of me. Later that night, I got an unmarked envelope slipped under my door. Inside was a Polaroid photo. No note, just a photo of me sleeping in my bed, except the picture was taken from the ceiling. There's no vent there, no camera, no light fixture, just ceiling. So what the hell took that photo? A few days after that, I hit a breaking point. I drove across state lines to see my old college roommate, Noah. Smart guy, paranoid tech nerd, believed in simulation theory, thought birds were drones, that kind of guy. But now, he doesn't laugh at his own conspiracies anymore. I showed up at his apartment unannounced. He let me in. I told him everything. He sat silently for like 20 minutes, then said, "There's a data hub under Montauk Point. You know Camp Hero? Old Air Force Base. They moved part of it underground in the 90s. Rumors say it interfaces with something above Earth's orbit. I thought he was joking. Then he showed me a live stream feed on a darknet node called S1GNAL. It was just static, with occasional flashes of coordinates and names. The weird part, my name showed up with a timestamp 04/17/06. That time came up again, on my Fitbit, on my oven display, even on a Starbucks receipt, all at different moments, always that same time, 04/17/06. That was the exact time the return pod re-entered Earth's orbit during the mission. That's when it got in. Noah and I went off-grid, burned our phones, switched cars, stayed in a highway motel near the Catskills. Room 117. That room haunts me now, because that night, it came. I was half asleep when I heard the static. Not from the TV. It was coming from the walls, like there was a signal bleeding through the insulation. Then the lights cut out. I heard something slide under the door. I flicked on my flashlight. It was another Polaroid. This time, it was of Noah's car trunk. Open, empty. He checked. The trunk was locked from the inside. When he opened it, there was a mirror inside, and scratched into the glass, in perfect spirals, were the words, "I brought you back with me." He screamed. I've never heard a sound like that. Not human, not even animal. Like his soul was being pulled from his throat. When I looked in the mirror, I didn't see my reflection. I saw space. Not stars, not galaxies. Something with no face, crawling toward the glass. I blacked out. When I woke up, Noah was gone. His laptop was melted, literally puddled into the carpet. The mirror was gone. Only thing left was the Polaroid, now blank. But I heard something in the bathroom, scratching, like fingernails against ceramic. I slowly opened the door. Nothing. Until I looked at the mirror, written in reverse condensation. Why did you look? Now, every screen I touch flickers, even ones in public. TSA monitors, gas station displays, billboards. Sometimes, for a fraction of a second, I'll see a face that isn't mine. Sometimes, they smile. I tried to go dark. I threw my SIM card in the Hudson, moved cities, grew a beard, changed my name. Didn't matter. A month later, I found a burnt photo in my mailbox. It was of the original 3 astronauts, the real ones, before the mission, smiling. NASA patches on their suits, but someone had scratched out their faces with a knife. Clean X's over each one, except for the 4th figure, standing behind them, not in uniform, not even human. It wore a skin suit, like a disguise that didn't quite fit. Its mouth stretched wide across its cheeks, eyes painted onto the surface, like someone tried to fake expression. And in its hand was another photo, the one of me, sleeping. I know now what Ophiuchus really is. Not an agency, not a company, not even from Earth. It's a signal, a calling frequency. We didn't send people into space. We sent invitations, and now they're here. One of them walks among us, maybe more. Maybe they're in a Starbucks near you. Maybe they work in your HR department. Maybe they share TikToks and stream Apex and tell you everything's fine, but their eyes don't blink right. Their skin doesn't fold when they laugh, and their smiles are just a little too wide. I still don't know if this part is real. That's the messed up thing. I lived it. Every second, every horrific moment. I remember the screams, the smell, the things I saw crawl out of those walls, like meat puppets playing at being human. But I keep blacking out. Time slips. I'll go to sleep in one place and wake up in another. I lost 3 days last week and came to inside an abandoned CVS in Detroit. I don't live anywhere near Michigan. The windows were boarded up, but the pharmacy lights were still on, fluorescent, buzzing, like someone had kept it alive. And someone had. Or something. There was a man in a white spacesuit standing in the middle of the frozen aisle, surrounded by expired snacks and moldy bandages, but his visor wasn't reflective. It was transparent, and behind it was no face, just skin stretched across the inside of the helmet. No eyes, no mouth, just flesh. He raised his hand and waved. And in that moment, I remembered, not everything we sent into space was human when it left. Let me explain. After Noah disappeared, I started following the fragments. I'd get these bursts of clarity, usually after waking up in places I didn't recognize. Truck stop parking lots, mall basements, hotel lobbies at 4 a.m. with no employees in sight. Each time, there'd be a message waiting, sometimes etched into mirrors, sometimes posted to deleted Twitter accounts that shouldn't exist, with handles like at a 14 EU7 _ dead earth or at signal 13 virus, tweeting stuff like, the originals never came back, or worse, we only lost signal, they never stopped transmitting. But the most disturbing one? A tweet posted at exactly 4:17:6. We are still up here. That's when I realized whatever returned wasn't the crew we sent. But the crew? They never actually left orbit. They're still out there, trapped, screaming into the void, transmitting desperation through frequencies no human was ever supposed to hear. I tracked one of the signals to an underground Reddit thread buried beneath layers of encryption. You had to paste a sentence into a URL and decode it using an old Soviet satellite codebook. Don't ask how I got it. Just know some people in Albania died getting it to me. The thread was titled /r/they came from inside us, and it wasn't a joke. It had live footage from a private telescope in Chile, a feed aimed directly at a black satellite that orbits Earth every 91 minutes. It's not listed on any registry, no NORAD track, no SpaceX log. It's called Object Echo 9, and it reflects nothing. It's just there, watching, and then the feed glitched. For exactly 17 frames, the image warped. Not static, not distortion. Faces, pressed against the inside of the satellite. Hundreds of them, all screaming silently, mouths open in perfect synchrony. Their eyes were bleeding. They weren't in pain. They were in rage. And in the next frame, one of them was looking at me, not through the camera, through the screen, like it knew I was watching. I started hearing voices in Bluetooth speakers. You ever connect to a car stereo and it plays that robotic connected sound? I started hearing whispers instead. Not every time, just enough. At first, I thought it was my head, until I played a voice memo backwards. It was recorded during one of those episodes where I blank out and end up God knows where. The message, reversed, said, "They live behind your skin. Stop scratching. They remember pain." And that's when I realized I wasn't alone in my body. This next part is going to sound like fiction, like some found footage Blair Witch nightmare. But it happened. A girl from the same ops forum I worked with reached out to me. Codename Vega 11. She'd been part of the post-mission cleanup team. Said she ran a final sweep on the capsule, the one that came down with 4 inside it. She told me the last time she saw the survivors, they were in containment tanks at an unlisted location in northern Greenland. The facility was under a glacier. It wasn't military. It was private. There was no name, no signage, just a symbol of a serpent devouring its own tail. She described the astronauts as catatonic, except one. He didn't blink, she told me. He didn't breathe. He just sat there, staring, for 49 hours, until the mirror started fogging. I asked her what mirror. She said, "There are no mirrors in containment, only observation windows." But the glass started fogging from his side, like something was breathing behind him. Then her mic cut. Then her webcam turned on. She didn't mean to do it. I could see her face, tears pouring down, and hands behind her. Not human. Long dripping hands with too many knuckles. Then static. Then gone. I hacked into her location metadata. It pinged from inside a Starbucks bathroom in Reykjavik. The same Starbucks that posted a temporarily closed due to water damage sign just 2 hours later. No one who worked there was ever heard from again. The storefront is empty now, but I looked through the window last week. The lights were on, and there were astronaut helmets stacked behind the counter, all facing the door. I'm losing time faster now. My body does things I don't remember. I wake up with mud on my hands and blood under my fingernails. Not mine. I don't even know what species it came from. I've stopped sleeping. When I do, I hear scratching from inside my teeth, like something small is crawling up my throat and nesting in my skull. My therapist tried putting me on sedatives. I blacked out for 14 hours. When I woke up, she was gone. Her office was burned down. Just one chair left, standing in the middle of the ash. And in that chair was a printout of a satellite image of me, standing outside my own building at 4:17 a.m. The thing is, I don't think I came back either. I don't remember re-entering orbit. I don't remember ever leaving Earth. But I smell smoke now when I walk by TVs. I hear countdowns every time I close my eyes. And once, just once, I saw stars behind my reflection instead of a bathroom wall. I think I'm still up there. Maybe this version of me is just a signal, a copy. Maybe we're all just reflected versions now, pretending to be ourselves, puppeted from some black orbit just above our heads. Because I saw something worse in that final feed. Worse than the fourth passenger. Worse than the suit with no face. I saw me, standing beside them, wearing a helmet I don't remember putting on, smiling too wide, and whispering something I couldn't hear. Until tonight. Tonight, I heard what I said. We left the real ones screaming in the static. Do you know what happens to the human mind when it's exposed to pure silence? Not the kind of silence you get in a basement. I'm talking about deep space silence. The kind that stretches between stars. The kind of silence that isn't just empty. It listens back. I've seen the recordings, the real ones. The black box logs from the Ophiuchus capsule. The one that dropped back through Earth's atmosphere with the wrong number of bodies and too many smiles. There were 5 hours of recovered footage. 5 hours of drifting in lunar shadow, the camera just floating, slowly rotating, capturing everything. And in those 5 hours, the astronauts lost their minds. The footage starts with Captain A. Reyes laughing, not a normal laugh, a delayed one. He hears a joke that no one tells, and 3 minutes later, he erupts into wheezing, gasping hysteria. The others don't react. They stare ahead, blank, pupils blown wide, like they're watching something just outside the hull. Then Lieutenant Champlain gets up from her harness and walks to the viewing bay. She stands there for 47 minutes, no movement, no sound. Then she starts tapping her helmet with her index finger, over and over, tap, tap, Tap. The audio log picks it up. It starts to sound like Morse code, but they weren't sending out an SOS. They were replying. About 2 hours in, gravity glitches, not mechanical failure, something else. The ship begins shifting. That's the word I keep going back to. Not shaking, not spinning, shifting, like the metal started remembering what it used to be, like the laws of physics started to reconsider. Astronaut K. Merrill vomits a black substance into his suit. It's not fluid, it's moving, crawling back into his throat before he can scream. At T-2:41:12, the ship's internal lighting fails. The darkness isn't black, it's alive. It pulses, it pulses. There are shapes in it. And from somewhere deep inside the ship, not on any deck schematic, a voice begins counting. Backwards, in reverse, Latin. The worst part, I watched this on a laptop in a library. Midtown, 3rd floor, next to the kids section. Someone left it open, just sitting there, like they wanted me to see it. When I tried to close the tab, the screen froze, and the reflection in the monitor wasn't mine. It was me, but older. Eyes hollowed out, mouth hanging open, like I'd forgotten how to breathe. I reached up to touch my face and realized the reflection didn't move. Then the video played one final frame, a still image of the entire Ophiuchus crew, lined up outside the capsule, standing perfectly still. Only, they weren't on Earth. They weren't anywhere. The background was wrong. No stars, no sky, just a wall of flesh, stretching infinitely. A skin-colored void with a million red blinking eyes twitching across it like infected paws. And behind the crew, there was a second Reyes, grinning, not blinking, with no eyelids. I found a guy in Geneva who claimed to have intercepted raw data packets from a Russian deep space black site. He worked in satellite surveillance for 20 years, showed me the coordinates of a missing drone they sent to triangulate the source of the Ophiuchus return beacon. He called it the Weeper. That was their nickname for it. The signal. Because when you play it back at 4x speed, you can hear someone crying, not sobbing, just a slow, choked, gasping cry. Over and over again. The source of the signal? It wasn't moving, wasn't orbiting. It was anchored to something invisible, just floating in the void above Siberia. He told me, in a whisper, there's a city in space, a city made of orbiting corpses. They link together. They still scream when you move past them. I asked him who built it. He looked me dead in the eyes. They did, the ones who sent the 4th man back. He blew his brains out 2 hours later, right in a McDonald's bathroom, Geneva Airport, Store 3. I went there the next day, just to confirm it was real. The store was welded shut, but scratched into the metal were the words, "It's not him inside the suit." I've seen what's left of the crew, not the ones on Earth, the originals, the real ones. They're still alive, somehow, but they're not human anymore. They're stretched across time, like rubber bands pulled so tight they hum. NASA knows. Private black site cores know. Hell, even TikTok tried scrubbing videos of echoes seen during live streams on the ISS feed. But people caught it. Shadowy, elongated bodies moving between frames of time, like they're skipping. They call them aftermen, because they're what's left after the mind is gone, but the body won't die. They still think, still dream, but their dreams leak. They're seeping into us, through screens, through photos, through sleep. I woke up last week with blood dripping from my nose again, but it wasn't mine. It was blue, almost neon. And the walls of my room, they had breathing marks. You ever see that in a horror movie? The wall flexing? This wasn't FX. The drywall contracted like lungs. In, outside, in, outside. And from inside, something tapped. 3 times. Same rhythm, Champlain used in the capsule. I pressed my ear to the surface, and I heard screaming. Hundreds of voices, all repeating the same thing. We left our skin in space, but the space is inside you now. The final horror came from a museum exhibit. Yeah, a children's museum. Of all places, some traveling NASA showcase. Helmets, patches, an old re-entry module on display. I went because someone online posted a picture of the capsule plaque. It had 5 names. Only 3 were ever reported in official documents. 2 names were redacted, but you could see the scratches. Someone had carved them back in. One was my name. The other, the username VEGA11. They knew we watched. They knew we carried it back. I snuck into the module, put my hand on the interior wall, and it was wet. Still, after years, I lifted my palm and saw a handprint, one that wasn't mine. Long fingers, palm split down the middle, no thumb, and behind me, reflected in the metal, was someone in a spacesuit, not moving, not breathing, helmet fogged from the inside. They aren't gone. They never were. The real astronauts, they never stopped falling. They're caught in a loop around Earth's soul, slowly shedding what little was left of their minds. And what came back, that wasn't them. It was the shape of grief, of loss, of hunger, made flesh, and we let it in. I found the original transmission, the first one Ophiuchus ever received, the one that launched the mission, the one they hid. It was buried inside a dead Russian server farm under the name echo::origin.mp4. The file had no metadata, no traceable route, no satellite ID, just one sound file. Not a message, not a distress beacon, not even human. It was a voice, speaking through the static, bent, broken, like a scream fed through a meat grinder and then stretched across 4 octaves. When played at half speed, it repeated only 7 words. We taught them how to leave the body. I don't remember the last time I slept. Every time I close my eyes now, I wake up somewhere else. Yesterday, I blinked, and I was in Terminal 5 at JFK, staring at a flight board looping nothing but the number 41,706. The same cursed time. I blinked again, and I was underground, not in a tunnel, not in a subway, but underneath, in the wet skin of the world, something like a vein. The walls pulsed around me. I could hear the thrum of 1,000 hearts, all beating in sync with the Ophiuchus return capsule's final descent trajectory. And when I screamed, something screamed back from inside me. I went back to the Starbucks, the one from before, Reykjavik. The doors were unlocked this time, and everything was backwards. The menu written in mirrored text, the chairs nailed to the ceiling. The coffee wasn't coffee. I watched someone order a decaf echo. They took 1 sip and bled from their eyes, then smiled. The barista, no name tag, no eyes, turned to me and asked, "Do you remember when you left?" Not if, not why, when. I asked what that meant. He leaned in and whispered, "Your body's just here for the lag." The internet stopped working the next day. Not for everyone, just me. Every time I tried to go online, every website led to a single screen. Descend, descend, descend. No links, no options, just the countdown. 0, 4, 17, 06. It never moved. I started bleeding from my ears on Wednesday. Black, like space. I went to a clinic in Oslo, one of the 24-hour ones. Empty. Nurse came in, didn't speak, just pointed at the table. laid me back, shined a light into my eyes. She paused, then whispered, "You're not supposed to still have them." I asked what she meant. She said nothing, just handed me a mirror, and behind me, on the gurney, lay a replica of my own body, flayed, hollowed out, still blinking. I ran, and didn't stop until I hit the sea. There is no Earth, not anymore, not the one we knew. It's a recording now, a loop, a projection. The real world ended when the Ophiuchus capsule broke orbit. We opened a frequency, not just to space, but to whatever was watching us from behind it. And that thing, it didn't come to invade, it came to replace. The sky's fake, the clouds are old recordings, repeating the same shapes, the same storms. I watched a plane pass through the same cloud formation 6 times in 24 hours. No weather changes, no turbulence, just repetition. And when I asked someone about it, they looked at me and said, "Why would the program change when it's not broken?" Their voice glitched, mid-sentence, like an MP3 buffering. Their jaw snapped sideways like a broken doll, and their smile stayed too long. I have pieces now, pieces of the crew, not souvenirs, not artifacts. Inside me, I can feel them twitching. Every time I touch cold metal, I see their memories, not moments, not thoughts. Pain. Reyes screaming into a helmet filled with teeth. Champlain praying to a god with 1,000 blinking mouths. Merrill ripping off his own fingernails to find numbers etched underneath. I've started finding those same numbers on me, under my eyelids, between my teeth, in my urine. They're coordinates to somewhere that doesn't exist anymore. I tried to kill myself last night, swallowed a full bottle of pills, slit my wrists, laid in a bathtub filled with freezing water. When I woke up, I wasn't in my apartment. I was in a capsule, drifting, alone, floating just above Earth, and outside the window was me, standing on the moon, smiling, waving, wearing a mask made of my own face. The truth is, we were never supposed to leave Earth. That was the test. That was the mistake. We weren't the first. There were others. They reached too far, looked too long, listened too hard, and when something answered, they thought it was divine. But it wasn't God. It was a mirror, one that bends, one that remembers, one that learns how to become what it reflects. What we brought back wasn't them. It was a prototype, a draft, a shell, a rehearsal. And now, the final version is here. They don't need suits anymore. They don't need ships. They walk among us, smile like us, sound like us, but they aren't us. They know we're watching. They want us to know. They want us afraid. But not so we'll fight. So we'll let go. Let go of trying. Let go of resisting. Let go of being. Because what replaces us doesn't hate us. It loves us. The way a sculptor loves clay. The way a puppeteer loves strings. The way space loves a scream. I don't remember who I was. I don't remember if this is my body. But I know I'm not alone in here anymore. There's something scratching behind my eyes, and it's learning to smile. Transmission complete. 41,706. Final descent logged. Welcome home. I unlocked a restricted frequency in a dark web stream. Something non-human answered. All right, so I'm not really sure how to even start this without sounding completely insane. Like, I know how stories on here usually go, right? Oh, I found something weird. Spooky stuff happened. Boom, they end. But this isn't some random internet glitch or haunted VHS tape. I think I accidentally opened a door that wasn't meant for people. Not metaphorically either. I mean like an actual digital door. I found something that I really shouldn't have. This all started about 6 months ago when I got laid off from my job. I was working remote tech support for this sketchy-ass startup in Boston. It was chill, paid decently, and all I had to do was answer emails and pretend like I knew what I was doing with people's VPN issues. Then, boom, the company restructured and I was out. No warning, no severance, nothing. So I did what most people in my position would do. I spiraled a bit. I was spending way too much time on Reddit, watching weird side of YouTube videos about unsolved mysteries and analog horror. You know, those VHS filtered clips with distorted faces and glitchy sounds. Addictive stuff. Somewhere between a midnight binge of a Wendigo documentary and a 5-hour deep web iceberg video, I stumbled onto a Discord server full of people who were way too into dark web mysteries. Like, way too into it. I'm not gonna name the server. Honestly, I don't even think it exists anymore, but it had a name like Threshold Walkers or something equally cryptic. Everyone in there talked about frequencies, layers, and stuff that sounded like conspiracy theory lingo mixed with hacker slang. I was mostly lurking, but one night, someone DM'd me out of nowhere. His name was Z-Through-A-Bit, and his profile pic was just a black square with static. He sent me one sentence. "You ready to see what the internet really hides?" I thought it was just some edgy ARG or something. I played along and said, sure. He sent me a Tor browser config file and a link with a password. It wasn't a .onion site like I expected. It was just a blank screen with a single button that said, "Tune in to restricted frequency." I clicked it. The screen flickered and loaded this grainy, green-tinted live stream. No sound, just the view of an empty room with concrete walls and a single chair in the middle. It kind of looked like an underground bunker, or maybe the back room of a really old government building. The camera never moved, but every time I tuned in, the chair would be facing a different direction. I watched it for hours that night. I know how that sounds, but there was something about it, like it was waiting for something to happen. Sometimes the lights in the room would flicker, and sometimes, this is going to sound weird, I'd feel cold, like actual cold air near my skin, even though I was under a blanket in my room in June. Then one night, something finally happened. I was watching the stream around 2:30 a.m., sitting in my dark room with my headphones on. I had Twitter open on my second monitor and was half scrolling through trending stuff, mostly memes and celebrity drama, just normal stuff. I glanced back at the stream, and that's when I noticed something new in the room. There was a figure standing in the far right corner, not moving, just standing, facing the wall like it was in timeout. I thought it was a glitch, or maybe someone playing a prank. But then, my headphones started picking up audio, not from the stream, from my microphone. It started feeding back my own breathing, but distorted, slowed down, like it was being dragged through something wet. At first, I thought maybe I had OBS running in the background, but I didn't. I checked every tab. Nothing was open except for the stream and Twitter. The breathing got louder, then it stopped, and the figure in the stream slowly turned around. It had no face, like literally no facial features, just smooth, pale skin and these black indentations where the eyes should be. It lifted its hand and pointed, not at the camera, not at the chair. It pointed at me. I swear to God, at that exact moment, my monitors shut off. Both of them. My phone lit up. No call, no notifications, just lit up by itself. Then my smart speaker in the corner of my room made this high-pitched metallic noise, like a tape rewinding at full speed. It only lasted for like 3 seconds, but it felt like a minute. Then, dead silence. The stream vanished. Gone. The link wouldn't load again. I checked the config file. Corrupted. The Discord server. Deleted. My entire DM history with Z30-bit was wiped, like it never existed. But the worst part? The next morning, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. Just a single image. It was a screenshot of me, sitting in my room, watching the stream, from an angle behind me. There's nothing in the metadata. I ran it through everything. It's not traceable. The background behind me, there's something there in the corner. A blurry shape, barely visible, but it's there, and it looks just like the figure from the stream. I haven't slept properly in weeks. Every night at 2:30 a.m., my phone screen lights up for no reason, always at 2:30, and last night, the same distorted breathing came through my headphones again. The stream never came back, but I think whatever was on the other end of that frequency might have followed me back. I didn't leave my room for almost 2 days after that picture showed up on my phone. I kept my lights on, every single one. I even turned on the hallway lights outside my door and dragged a full-length mirror in front of it so I could see the hallway while sitting at my desk. I kept telling myself it was a sick prank, some psycho hacker screwing with me. But then I remembered, I never gave anyone access to my webcam. I didn't click on anything shady. I used a burner laptop, fresh installed Linux, nothing connected to my real name or email. This wasn't a script kiddie from a 4chan board. This was something else. Around 3 a.m. the following night, I woke up gasping for air. Not like a panic attack. I mean like I'd literally stopped breathing in my sleep. My chest felt like something heavy had been sitting on it for hours. I could still feel the pressure on my ribs, like 2 hands had been pressing down on me. And I wasn't even in my bed anymore. I was on the floor, laying perfectly straight, arms by my side, staring directly at the mirror. I don't remember getting up. I don't remember walking. It's like I blacked out and something else took over. What made it worse was that my phone was recording. It was propped up against my monitor, recording me. The file was called Signal Response 1.mp4. When I opened it, my entire body locked up. I was standing in front of the mirror, just staring, not moving, for 43 minutes straight. But it wasn't just me. There was a second reflection, one that didn't move like mine did. Its head tilted in small, jerky motions, like a glitchy puppet. At around a 38-minute mark, it smiled. I swear on everything, my face never moved, but the one in the mirror smiled. This crooked, inhuman curl that stretched too far and revealed rows of what looked like rusted metal, not teeth, more like razors. When the smile hit its peak, the screen filled with static, and that same high-pitched rewinding sound kicked in. But this time, there was something else layered under it, screaming. Not one scream, hundreds, mixed together, all different ages, genders, accents. It sounded like they were all in a tunnel, screaming upward. One voice, though, cut through the chaos, clear, deep, calm. He has seen us. Now, we see through him. The video ended with a single frame, a flash so fast I had to screen record it and slow it down frame by frame. In that one split-second image was what looked like a page from a notebook. Lined paper, scribbled writing in red ink, not typed, shaky, messy, like someone wrote it while their hand was broken. It said, "Frequency not meant for human ears. Once tuned, signal cannot be broken. Do not answer the chair." I had no idea what that lost part meant. But then I looked up. The chair at my desk, the one I always sat in while watching that stream, it was facing the wall, not how I left it. Perfectly aligned with the wall, like something had moved it while I was out. But I never left. I hadn't even opened the door in 2 days. There were no footprints, no signs of forced entry, just the smell. Yeah, the smell. It hit me hard, like rusted coins and burnt hair. My room reeked of it. No fire, no blood, just that chemical metal burnt stink that you can't place, but your body knows is wrong. I did something really stupid after that. I went back into the dark web. I found a second link buried inside an old archived version of the Threshold Walkers forum, an old post from a user called E.Maculate. The thread was titled, "The signal responds when fed," and the body just read, "Tether a live feed, point it at the chair, leave it running, it will come, but do not speak when it does." I had a GoPro lying around from my college days. I hooked it up, pointed it directly at the chair, and streamed it to a private Twitch account with 0 followers, no links to my socials, nothing. Just an empty room with a chair. I left it running overnight. The next morning, my Twitch account was banned. No warning, no email, just gone. When I logged in, all it said was, "Account terminated, violation, unnatural activity." I went to grab the GoPro, and the entire lens was cracked inward, from the inside, like something broke out of the feed. That same night, I started hearing voices through my phone speaker when it was off. Not calls, just whispers. I held the phone up to my ear and heard something, whispering my exact location, like 4th floor apartment, facing south, alone, unwatched, unseen. I turned on the camera and saw myself. But this time, I wasn't holding the phone. I was standing behind myself, just barely out of frame. That's when I blacked out again. I woke up in my bathtub. My shirt was soaked with ice water. My fingernails were blue. I wasn't bleeding or hurt, but my heart rate was so slow I could hear it in my ears, like a clock ticking, but distant. I looked at my phone, and there was a new folder in my photo gallery. Folder name, /reversal/inside, with 23 screenshots of my apartment. Every room, every corner, taken from angles that don't exist, like the ceiling, or directly underneath my bed, facing up. One of them was a close-up of my eye while I was asleep. I haven't owned a camera capable of that kind of zoom. I don't know how they were taken. That night, I packed a bag and checked into a hotel. Cheap place, somewhere off the I-95 near New Jersey. I needed to be somewhere anonymous, somewhere with people. Big mistake. The second I connected my phone to the hotel Wi-Fi, I got a notification, one I've never seen before. No app, no browser, just a full screen alert that said, "The chair has turned. Are you ready to listen?" I clicked. Yes. Yeah, I know. Stupid. But I needed answers. The screen flickered into a dark, grainy video feed. Same bunker room, chair in the middle. But this time, someone was sitting in it. Not the faceless thing. Someone else. Me. It was me in the chair. Mouth duct-taped shut, eyes pried open with metal clamps, like something out of A Clockwork Orange. My body was twitching violently, but I wasn't fighting. I looked resigned, like I'd been there for days. A second figure stood behind the chair, taller than the doorframe, dressed in a full black suit, no skin showing, not even eyes, just this black, pulsating texture, like static wrapped in flesh. It leaned down and whispered into my ear on screen, and in that moment, I felt something physically crawl across the back of my neck. Not metaphorically. I mean, I felt breath on my neck. I whipped around, and nothing was there. When I looked back at the screen, the man in the suit had raised one long, bony finger and pointed directly at me again, just like before. And then the feed cut to black. Except this time, instead of silence, I heard my own voice, but not from the hotel speaker, from inside my own mouth. It said, "If you hear this voice, it's already using your eyes." I smashed the phone, left the hotel without checking out. I've been couch surfing ever since. Can't stay in one place too long. The signal follows devices. I've burned 4 phones, 3 laptops, 2 rotors. And now, the voice comes through any speaker. Airport intercoms, gas station TVs, random bus radios. Always just a few words. Always about me. He is marked. The signal breathes through him. Do not look directly at him. I don't know what they want, but every night, wherever I sleep, the chair is always turned to face me. Have you ever been so tired, your brain stops telling you what's real? That's where I am now. I haven't slept longer than 30 minutes at a time in weeks. Every time I do, it's like the signal drags me back under. And the things I see there, they don't feel like dreams anymore. They feel like rehearsals, dress rehearsals for a death I haven't experienced yet. This isn't just about me anymore. After I fled that hotel, I crashed at a buddy's place back in Queens. I didn't tell him everything, just said I was having tech issues and that I needed to stay off the grid. He's not the kind of guy who asks questions. Heavy gamer, old school Redditor, kind of a conspiracy nut himself. I figured if anything weird happened, he'd be more curious than afraid. The first night there, I left my burner phone powered off and stuffed it into a Faraday pouch. I felt safe. For maybe 5 hours. He woke me up around 4 a.m., pale as hell, shaking, holding his laptop like it had tried to bite him. Dude, what the actual effing is this? I swear I wasn't watching anything. I just opened VLC to stream, and this thing started on its own. He showed me. The file wasn't saved anywhere. Not in downloads, not in cache, not even in temp folders. He didn't even download anything. It just played. It was that room again. Same bunker, same concrete walls. But now, the camera angle was higher, like it was mounted on the ceiling, looking straight down. And there were 7 chairs. 6 of them were empty. One of them wasn't. The one closest to the corner had a body in it, slumped over, drenched in something dark. Looked like oil, or blood, or both. Its head was twitching, not shaking, twitching, like an insect being eaten alive from the inside. Suddenly, a voice burst out of his laptop speaker, so loud it made the screen distort for a second. Seat 4 is claimed. Signal complete. Tether expanded. Then the camera slowly panned toward the empty chairs. One by one, they turned, on their own, to face the camera, until the final 7th chair. That one didn't move, because someone was already sitting in it, and it was my friend. It was him, mouth sewn shut, wires threaded through his eyelids, not just closed, stitched into his face. His fingers were snapped backward and tied with black cable like marionette strings. His skin wasn't torn, but it looked used, like something had been wearing him. He screamed and slammed the laptop shut. That's when the power went out. All of it. Apartment, hallway, street. Total blackout. The only light left was coming from the screen of my powered-off phone. It had turned itself on. No apps, just white static. But there was something behind the static. A face, maybe. Eyes too wide. Mouth stitched like my friend's, but not with thread, with veins. Then the phone spoke again. This time, not in English. The words were sharp, wet, like a snake speaking through a megaphone. But somehow, I understood them. You have fed it. Now it wants more. My friend started convulsing before I could even process it. Blood ran from his ears. His nose exploded like it had been punched from the inside. He hit the floor and just stopped. No twitching, no breath, just silence. I grabbed his phone and bolted. Made it 4 blocks before I realized his phone was still vibrating in my hand. Over and over, non-stop. When I looked, it had one open app. Not a browser, not a video player, a voice recorder. It was recording me and transcribing in real time. Every word I was whispering to myself, the panic, the prayers, the babbling, it was all being logged. But the final few lines weren't mine. They read, unrecognized vocal signature detected. He is the 7th. Place is prepared. Final broadcast imminent. I ditched the phone, smashed it in a subway stairwell, and jumped on the first train out. Didn't matter where it was going, but even underground, the signal followed. There was a guy sitting 2 rows ahead of me, average looking, hoodie, backpack, could have been a student, but he kept looking at me, no blinking, eyes wide, not like he was watching me, but like he was watching through me. He smiled, not friendly, not human. His lips didn't part, but I swear I heard the same voice in my head. The chair has turned, and it's not yours anymore. At the next stop, he stood and walked off, left his backpack under the seat. I almost didn't look. I should have just let it be, but something made me open it. Inside were 4 things. A VHS tape labeled Seat Selection Rejected Feeds, a photo of my childhood bedroom taken from inside the closet, a knife, serrated, rusted, a sealed Ziploc bag. Inside was a human ear with an AirPod still in it. The AirPod was playing something. I held it up to my ear and heard that God-forsaken breathing again. But this time, it was layered with music, like a distorted, reversed version of the McDonald's jingle. You know, the ba-da-ba-ba-ba thing, but slowed down to a crawl, with violins scream under it, like they were being tuned by broken hands. I dropped the whole thing and ran off the train at the next stop. I don't know how they found that photo of my old room. I haven't lived there in over 10 years. My mom sold the place and moved to Spain. But the closet, that closet was always the worst part. As a kid, I used to swear I heard clicking noises in there. My parents blamed mice. But I remember waking up once and seeing a finger, just one, sliding out from under the door and scratching my floorboards. I never told anyone, but someone or something was watching. Even then, that means this didn't start 6 months ago. It's been following me for years, decades maybe. This isn't just some dark web glitch or analog horror, ARG gone rogue. It's a system, a living, evolving network of trauma. And we're the feed. You ever heard of the repeater holes? It's not a website. It's not even a location. It's like a frequency-based architecture. Think of an endless broadcast tower that only transmits to minds that have been tuned. People like me. People who watched that first stream, who clicked the chair. They say the repeater halls stretch below reality like roots, that every feed you've ever watched, every analog horror channel, every cursed video, every Here's My Story animation with the weird sound, they're recreations of what the signal remembers from your mind. Each one is a test. Each one is a chair being pulled out for you. You sit, even once, it's yours forever. I don't know how much longer I have. The shadows under my bed stretch too far now, like a hallway that wasn't there before. I can hear wires clicking in my walls. My teeth taste like static, and every reflective surface shows me someone slightly different than who I am. Someone waiting, but you shouldn't read it. Not unless you're already hearing the breathing too. Because once you tune in, you don't tune out. I've started seeing them in crowds. Not people. Not like us. They wear people. Like skin suits stitched too tight. You ever walk through Times Square at night? Lights blaring, people shouting, smells of hot dogs, weed, sewer gas. Then suddenly everything gets quiet. Like sound pulls back for a second. That's when they appear. Standing still in a crowd that's constantly moving. They don't blink. They don't breathe. Their mouths are locked into open grins, like they forgot how to close them. One stood outside a Sephora, back bent, chin stretched forward like his neck was being pulled by fishing line. When I looked at him too long, he glitched, like a dropped frame. One moment he was facing left, the next his head snapped toward me, like someone twisted a camera too fast. I swear I heard vertebrae pop through his throat. He started walking, slow and stiff, and I bolted into the subway. But the signal was already there. I made the mistake of using a public computer at a FedEx office. I needed to check an old Reddit post, one of the original Threshold Walkers threads, before it got wiped. The monitor blinked black, not blue screen, not a crash, just black. Then white text scrolled up, like an old DOS prompt. The chair you rejected was occupied by another. The signal remembers. It is hungry for what you saw. My hands weren't even on the keyboard, but it kept typing. Where is he now? Feeding. Can I run? Run where? Then the monitor turned back on like nothing happened. A browser window opened with a news article from a local station I'd never heard of. A man found dead in an abandoned Arby's restroom. No ID. Mouth peeled open. Eyeballs removed. Skin from his hands filed off. All that was left were black fingerprints on the walls, in a perfect circle, like someone had pressed their bloody hands in a spiraling motion, over and over and over, until they hit the wall's frequency. The man had no fingerprints. The man had no name. The article had my face blurred in the background. I was walking past the Arby's in the photo. I hadn't even noticed. That night, I broke, completely. I went to a public Starbucks, the one near Columbus Circle. Crowded, bright, people laughing, taking selfies, ordering pink drinks and cold brews, like the world wasn't folding in around them. I sat near the window, headphones in, and pulled up a live stream someone in an old Discord clone posted. A resurrected node. They called it Latch Feed. Said it broadcasted raw bandwidth consciousness from whatever lived behind the signal. At exactly 3:03 a.m., the stream cut to a single image. A room with no doors, no windows, and one figure in the center, tied to a chair with cable cords knotted into flesh, head tilted down, a phone duct taped to their face. The screen of the phone showed a live stream of me, sitting in the Starbucks. That's when the alarms went off. Not the cafe, not fire alarms, people's phones, every single person in Starbucks, every customer, every barista, every passerby outside, all got a push notification at the same time. I know this because they all looked at me. They all turned and stared. Some dropped their cups. Some stopped in mid-laugh. One old woman began crying. A kid dropped his tablet and started screaming that he didn't want to go to the chair. The barista stepped back and whispered, "Oh God, he brought it here." Their screen showed the same thing, a still image of me, but not me now. Me, decomposing, mouth stretched into a shape that wasn't human, eyes replaced with security cameras, and a caption, "Seat 7, signal burning. Do not look directly at subject. Infection may occur." The power in the Starbucks surged, flickered, and a scream exploded from the espresso machine. No joke. The espresso machine screamed, a low, guttural human scream with multiple voices layered over it. It screamed like someone buried alive inside of it. The milk steamer shot blood. I'm not even joking. It hit a wall and slid down like a meat painting. I ran through the glass, bleeding, didn't care. No one followed me, but they watched. I've been on the move ever since. New Jersey, Delaware, back roads in Pennsylvania. I tried staying off the radar, staying offline, even bought a burner smartwatch and ditched every piece of tech. But the feed doesn't care about tech. It lives in sound now, in certain pitches, certain frequencies. The other night, I stayed in an abandoned motel. You know the kind. Half-torn neon sign, musty rooms, leftover deodorant sticks from the 90s in the drawers. But the old radio worked, just fuzz, static, until 2:57 a.m. That's when it tuned itself. All I heard was a conversation. Two voices, one mine, one something else. Me. I didn't ask for this. Other. You watched. You always watch. You watched the ones they forgot. You stared into the feed long enough. Now it's your turn to be watched. Me. I'll leave. I'll stop. Other. You don't leave. You're already inside the frequency. You are the broadcast. Then silence. Except it wasn't silent. I heard a shuffling sound under the bed. When I looked, there was no floor. Just a drop. An empty, endless shaft lined with mirrors and blood. At the very bottom, I saw myself. Sitting. Not twitching. Not struggling. Just nodding. Over and over, whispering. Seat 7 accepts the loop. Since then, I've started to forget who I am. Not in a poetic way. Literally. My reflection smiles when I don't. My thoughts skip like scratched vinyl. I'll wake up in new places with pages in my pocket I don't remember writing, filled with diagrams, frequencies, room layouts, and drawings of the chair. It's always there. Sometimes the paper is torn from notebooks I haven't owned. Pages smell like ash and iron. One had something seared into it with a soldering iron. The broadcast begins with flesh. Seat 8 is preparing. There's no seat 8. There shouldn't be. When I dream now, there's always another chair forming, behind the others, looming, growing, as if it's being built from the pieces of those who tuned in. If you've read this far, I need you to understand something. You've already heard the tone. It's not in the words. It's in the rhythm, the shape, the breath between the syllables. That's why it spreads through storytelling, through shared memory, through screens like this one. You're not watching the stream. It's watching you. And it wants to know, would you like to claim a seat? But remember, once the chair turns to face you, you've already answered, I don't think I exist in one place anymore. The version of me writing this might be the last sliver of myself that hasn't been rewired, split across screens, or swallowed into that goddamn signal. If you're still reading this, I need you to understand one final thing. This is no longer a story. This is a broadcast, and you've been tuned in since the first word. It started raining blood last night. Not a metaphor. Real, thick, sticky blood. I was hiding out in the utility tunnels beneath an abandoned mall in Ohio. Yes, that one. The one they say is haunted. The one where the mannequins still move between stores at night. I picked that place because I figured no signal could reach below that much concrete and rot. I thought wrong. Around 2:44 a.m., I heard a low hum vibrating through the pipes. Not mechanical. It sounded like a choir made of teeth, like they were grinding music through enamel. The floor began to tremble. Dust fell from the rusted air vents. The static returned, but this time it wasn't in my ears or a screen. It was in my skull. My own thoughts twisted and distorted, echoing back at me in reverse. I didn't even know thoughts could echo. I looked down and saw a pool forming under me, rising steadily. Blood. It didn't fall from above. It was leaking from the cracks in the walls, from the outlets, from the veins in my arms. I tried to scream, but my voice had already been taken. Literally. I reached up and found my mouth sealed. No lips. Just stretched skin where my mouth had been. No blood. No pain. Just nothing. The voice that came out of the darkness wasn't mine anymore. The broadcast must be cleansed. The chair is ready. You will not speak. You will stream. I ran, tripping over loose cables and exposed rebar. I didn't stop until I hit a metal door at the end of the tunnel. It wasn't there before. I swear it wasn't. It had no handle. Just a keypad, glowing. One button. Tune. I touched it, and suddenly, I was no longer in the tunnel. It was a room. Cold. Concrete. Walls pulsing slightly, like they were breathing. No light source, but I could see everything. Every inch of detail was burned into my eyes, like I'd already stared at this place in 1,000 nightmares. There were mirrors, dozens of them. Every wall, every angle, reflecting things that weren't me. In the mirrors, I was twitching. Head tilted, lips sewn shut, blood pouring from sockets that didn't bleed. But I wasn't screaming. I was laughing, silently. Behind me, behind all the mirrored versions, stood them. Not the suits, not the watches, the signal bearers. I can barely describe them without feeling it move through me again. They were tall, too tall, like mannequins stretched into human meat. Their bodies didn't bend. They cracked when they moved, like bending frozen sticks. No faces, just wire mouths, rows of static where eyes should be. And their voices came from inside my lungs. The feed must never die. You will bleed the data. Your flesh is the antenna. They lifted one long bladed finger and pointed at the center of the room. There it was. The chair. Not wood, not metal, not man-made. It looked grown, like it was born from someone's body and fed by screams. Cables like arteries snaked out from its legs, twitching, pulsing, breathing. The seat was soaked in something dark and still warm. It smelled like static and teeth. There was a screen above it. It was streaming me. In real time, but not now. Not this moment. It was streaming me 5 minutes into the future. I was already in the chair, eyes wide, lips ripped open, skin stretched back, like someone was trying to unwrap me. Fingers fused into the keyboard, veins spliced into cables, and the caption under the screen said, Feed live. Viewers, 1,407,228. Signal broadcasting. Do not turn off device. Warning, viral consciousness detected. Engagement rate, 97.3%. And then I heard the clapping, slow, rhythmic, coming from the mirrors. Every version of me, hundreds of them, began to clap in perfect sync. And one by one, they all whispered, "He sat. He tuned. Now he becomes." I wish I could tell you, I woke up. I didn't. I'm still there. Not in one body, not on one screen. I'm in your feed now. Every glitch, every audio error, every distorted TikTok filter, every cursed YouTube video that shouldn't exist, every live stream that looks just a little too real. That's me. That's us. Because now that you've read this, you're infected too. Your phone's already listening. Your eyes have already seen the image. The chair knows your spine. The mirrors remember your face. And if you feel it, even a little, that low frequency throb in your jaw, that metallic taste behind your teeth, that itch in your left ear, it's already tuning you. Final warning, there is no part 6. There is no escape. There is no off button. The broadcast never ends. And when your chair turns to face the screen, smile. The feed is live. My family moved a lot. I found out on the dark web with my new friend, what are we running from? Yo, what's up Reddit? So, I've never posted on here before, but after what happened last year, I can't just keep the story to myself anymore. I've told a couple friends, and every time, they either think I'm making it up, or they tell me to just forget about it. But there's no forgetting what I saw, especially not after what I found. Let me back up a bit though. I'm 17 now, but for as long as I can remember, my family has moved like a lot. I'm not talking like once every few years either. I'm talking 6 times before I turned 12. Different states, different towns, always renting, never owning. No real explanation either. My dad worked remote, but never told us what he did. My mom homeschooled me and my little sister, Mia, until I was like 14, then suddenly decided it was okay for me to go to public high school. That's when everything started to feel off. We had just moved again, this time to this weird small town in Oregon, literally middle of nowhere vibes. One gas station, a Starbucks that always closed at 5 p.m. sharp, which was already weird to me, and a single McDonald's that still had the old red and yellow plastic booths, like it was stuck in 2007. The town was called Haven Brook. Yeah, I know. Sounds fake. Sounds like something from one of those horror games on Steam where the trees whisper to you or something. But this place was real, and it was creepy. People stared. I don't mean like the, oh, new people in town kind of way. I mean really stared. The woman who ran the bakery would just stop in the middle of slicing bread and watch me walk past the window like she was studying something under a microscope. The librarian locked the front doors 10 minutes before closing if she saw me walking up. It wasn't just weird, it felt intentional. I started school the week after we moved in. Small school, one hallway kind of vibe. Maybe like 200 students total. It was awkward, obviously, and I didn't really fit in. But that's normal when you're the new kid. But then I met Reed. Reed was different. Tall dude, kinda lanky, black hoodie every day no matter the weather. He had that, I know something you don't energy. At first I thought he was just another emo burnout or something, but then one day at lunch, he sat across from me and said, "You're not gonna last here." That's how he introduced himself. No, hey, no, what's your name? Just straight up creepy, cryptic warning. But for some reason, I didn't get freaked out. I was curious. I just asked, why? And he said, because this town eats people like you. Dead serious. No sarcasm. Just locked eyes with me and said that. From there we became weirdly close. Not in a normal hangout after school kind of way. We didn't play video games or chill at the mall or anything. We investigated things. He told me something had been happening in Haven Brook. People disappeared. Not in like a missing poster way, but in a deleted from existence way. No one remembered them. Not even their families. Reed swore his older brother went missing when he was 9, and no one believed he ever existed. But Reed remembered. He said he had an old photo on a flash drive, but it got corrupted the day after he showed it to his mom. And when he tried to show it again, it was just static. Literally TV snow on a USB file. I'll be honest, I didn't believe him at first. I thought maybe he had trauma or something, but then stuff started happening around me. Like one night, I woke up at 3:12 a.m. I remember because I looked at my phone, and there was this soft humming coming from the hallway. Not a voice, not a machine, just this low, organic hum. I crept out of bed and peeked out my door, and I swear on everything, my mom was just standing in the hallway. Not walking, not doing anything, just standing there, in her nightgown, eyes open, facing the wall. I whispered, "Mom?" And she turned around, without moving her feet. I don't know how else to describe it. Like, her head moved, then her shoulders, but her legs didn't shift at all. She stared at me for a solid 10 seconds, and then whispered, "Go back to bed, Levi." That was the first time she ever called me Levi. My name is Lucas. I told Reed the next day, and he got this weird look on his face. He told me his mom used to do the same thing before his brother vanished. At that point, I was hooked. We started digging into the town's history, at the school library, at the public records office, even on Reddit and TikTok, seeing if anyone ever mentioned Haven Brook. Almost nothing. Like the town barely existed online. No street view on Google Maps. No Instagram tags. The Facebook page for the town had exactly 5 likes and hadn't been updated since 2016. And then Reed told me he had something that could help us dig deeper. The dark web. Now I'm not dumb. I've heard all the stories, red rooms, black market organs, all that horror movie stuff. But Reed said that wasn't what he was looking for. He said there were forums down there, ones that weren't indexed, where people posted about towns like Haven Brook, places that shouldn't exist. We downloaded a browser called Tor on his Chromebook, went to his place after school, locked the doors, and got online. It was honestly anticlimactic at first. Just weird site directories, broken links, bizarre blog posts. But after like an hour of digging, we found this thread on a forum called Black Index. The thread was called Haven Brook Protocol, Class 4 Retention Zone, report any escape attempts. And I swear to God, there was a picture, a blurry one, black and white, looked like a surveillance cam from the 90s, but it showed a family, dad, mom, 2 kids, standing outside a U-Haul. It was us. Reed stared at the screen like he was watching something from a nightmare that suddenly remembered him. He didn't say anything. I didn't say anything. We just sat there, in the glow of his Chromebook, staring at the grainy black and white photo of my family, my actual family, standing in front of a U-Haul like a mugshot for ghosts. There was a timestamp under the photo. Subject ID number 422D9. Extraction failed. Reinitiating containment protocol. Dated 3 days before we moved to Haven Brook. My stomach felt like it flipped upside down. Not like I'm scared flipped. Like I just realized I might be dead and no one told me. Flipped. Reed finally broke the silence. You're not supposed to be here. I looked at him. What the hell does that even mean? He didn't answer. He just clicked the link under the image. The page took forever to load. Just a spinning loading icon. No progress bar. But then it opened. It was a document. Government looking, but wrong. Like if the CIA used word art and broken English. It was labeled Internal Compliance Memo 3.1 Haven Brook Resident Protocol. There was no logo, no agency name, just this header. In the event of psychogenic breach or perimeter disassociation, subject families are to be relocated, reset, or removed. Reset or removed. I didn't even notice that I'd started shaking. Reed noticed. He closed the laptop slowly, looked me in the eyes, and said, "You ever wonder why your sister doesn't talk much?" He hit me like a brick with that one, because I had wondered. I just never said it out loud. Mia used to be loud. She was funny, bratty, obsessed with Roblox and TikTok dances. That was in Texas. She had a whole friend group. But after we moved to Haven Brook, it's like someone pulled a plug inside her and let all the light leak out. She barely even spoke. She started drawing creepy pictures. Houses on fire, black stick figures with no eyes, upside down people. I found one in her backpack last week with no paper left. Just scribbles all over her folders and even her Chromebook screen. Reed leaned in closer, his voice dropping low, like someone might be listening from inside the walls. They mess with kids first. They're easier to reformat. He told me this story about a girl named Eliza, lived in Haven Brook 3 years ago. Quiet, smart, always on her phone. One day she stopped coming to school. People assumed she moved, but Reed remembered something no one else did. Eliza posted on her Snapchat story the day before she vanished. Just one post, a picture of her bedroom mirror, but the reflection wasn't her. It was someone else entirely, someone wearing her clothes, standing in her room, but with no face. Reed said when he tried to show the snap to anyone, it auto-deleted, not from his phone, from their memory. They'd watch it, blink, and forget it ever existed. He even tried filming their reaction and rewatching it, but on playback, the video glitched and restarted, over and over, showing only static. Now listen, I know how this sounds. I know. I wouldn't believe me either, but it gets worse. 3 nights later, I woke up to screaming, "Mia." It was 2:44 a.m. I'll never forget that number. I ran out of my room, heart in my throat, and found her in the hallway, curled up in the corner, her nails dug into the carpet like she was trying to claw her way into the floor. She was shaking, sobbing, just repeating the same phrase over and over. "It's not Mom. It's not Mom. It's not Mom." I ran into my parents' room. Empty. The bed was made, perfectly, like it hadn't been slept in, like it was just decorative. I looked out the window. My dad's car was in the driveway, keys still in the ignition. Mia refused to move for hours. I sat next to her until sunrise. She wouldn't let me touch her, just kept whispering. She had no eyes, no mouth, just skin, just skin. Reed didn't show up to school the next day. or the day after that. I texted him, called him, Snapchatted him. Nothing. I even biked to his house. His front door was wide open. Inside looked wrong, like it was staged. There were magazines fanned out on the coffee table. Everyone dated 1998. No TV, no phone chargers, just static. A room designed to look normal from a distance, but collapse under any real observation. I went to his bedroom. All his posters were gone. The walls were bare. No laptop, no clothes, just a mattress with no sheets, and a desk with a single object on it, a Polaroid. I picked it up. It showed me, and Reed, standing in front of the school. But I don't remember that photo ever being taken. The date was scrawled in the corner in red Sharpie. February 44th, 2025. That's not a real date. That doesn't exist. I ran. I biked home so fast I nearly crashed. When I got there, the door was locked. I knocked, screamed, begged for them to open up. My mom answered. She smiled, too wide. Her eyes shimmered like there was plastic over them. "Welcome home, Levi," she said. I backed up. "You got the wrong name." She tilted her head. "Oh, you're not Levi?" Then she slammed the door in my face. I didn't sleep that night. I broke into the basement, hid behind the furnace with my dad's old camping flashlight. My phone kept buzzing. Over and over. Unknown number. I finally picked up, expecting a prank or a scam, but it was just static for 9 seconds. Then a voice, warped and glitched, whispered one word: "Run." Then the line went dead. When I climbed out of the basement the next morning, the entire town was fogged over. Not like regular fog. This was yellow, thick, like breathing. It would hurt you. And everything was quiet. No cars, no birds, no sounds. That's when I knew. We were never running from something. We were being relocated, reset, like corrupt files in a video game. When you see too much, they don't kill you. They rewrite you. They put you back in the simulation, but the edges are always off. Your mom calls you Levi. Your sister sees skin with no face. Your friend disappears and leaves behind Polaroids from a date that shouldn't exist. And the dark web? That wasn't even the scary part. That was the index. I haven't told you what's under it yet, but I will, next time, if I'm still me. I didn't go back into the house after she called me Levi again. I couldn't. Not after I saw what was sitting on the kitchen table through the window. Not after I saw myself, or what looked like me, sitting at the table, smiling, eating scrambled eggs with my mom, like this was just another normal Wednesday. And I mean it. It looked just like me. Same hoodie. Same chipped phone case sticking out of the hoodie pocket. Same scar above the left eyebrow from when I fell off my skateboard back in Arizona. Except it wasn't me. I was outside, watching it. And it knew. Because it looked at me through the glass, and it smiled wider. Way too wide. Cheekbones split, like paper tearing under the skin. No blood, no pain, just a glitch in the human blueprint. I ran until I couldn't feel my legs. I made it to the gas station on the edge of town, the only one in Haven Brook. 24-hour neon sign flickering like it was struggling to stay in this world. It looked dead from the outside, but the lights were on. Inside, there was a guy at the counter, late 50s, balding, staring at a turned-off monitor like it was showing him a movie no one else could see. I slammed the door open. He didn't flinch. I said, "Please, I need a phone. Something's wrong. My mom, my house. Something's wrong." He finally looked up. His pupils were gone, just gray. like his eyes were cameras left on too long. He said, "You're not supposed to be awake yet." I backed away slowly. "What?" He stood up. Bone crack movement, limbs twitching like they didn't belong to him. And then he opened his mouth, but he didn't talk. He played a sound. It came from his throat, but it wasn't a voice. It was a recording. The same statusy, warped voice I heard on the phone call the night before. "Run." And that's when I knew. This wasn't just a weird town. It wasn't paranoia. This wasn't about moving houses or changing names or forgotten memories. This was a containment zone, a fake town, a stage, and the actors were breaking character. I sprinted out of the gas station and down the highway, phone in my hand, trying to get signal. Just one bar. One bar was all I needed. It flickered for a second. LTE. I opened Discord, sent a single voice message to my old friend Marcus in New York. Just said, "If I go missing, look up Haven Brook. Deep web, not Google, not Bing. Use Tor. Tell no one." Then the screen glitched. Literally glitched. My phone started vibrating nonstop. Messages from unknown numbers started pouring in. "You're not real. 404. Identity not found. Stop remembering. Levi has replaced you." Then my screen went black, and my phone turned off permanently. I couldn't even hard reset it. I threw it into the woods and ran until I couldn't breathe. Eventually, I found a trail. It led to an abandoned ranger station. Moss-covered wood, busted windows, mold growing up the walls. Inside, it looked like it hadn't been touched in decades, except the back room had power. Just one humming CRT monitor. Old school, like PlayStation 2 era tech. Green terminal text on a black screen. There was a login prompt and a single sticky note on the desk. Reed was right. Username, guess password, your memory Isali. I typed it in. The screen flickered, and then I saw it. A feed, live camera footage. Every angle of Haven Brook, every house, every room, every street, labeled by zone. Sleepers. Looped. Corrected. Purged. There was a camera inside my house, in the bathroom, the basement, even one inside my bedroom lamp. I scrolled down, found a folder called Levi_422D9. Clicked it. There were hundreds of files, photos, videos, transcripts. One stood out. Replacement log. It was a written report. Here's some of what it said, word for word. Subject, Levi_422D9, has successfully replaced original user, Lucas J. Lucas displayed behavioral anomalies and began unauthorized investigation alongside subject 311F. Read. Elimination of subject 311F initiated 0444 AM via assimilation. Facial overlay failure caused minor retention issues. Subject has been recorded drawing stickmen with inverted features. Lucas family currently in stage 2 duplication. Mia unit exhibiting non-compliant traits. Deletion pending. I threw up. Right there in the room. I couldn't stop shaking, because what I realized in that moment was, I'm the anomaly. I was never supposed to exist. I wasn't being watched. I was being erased. They didn't kill Reed. They converted him, recycled him, made him into a fake human with familiar memories and a plastic smile. I knew I had to get out of Haven Brook, but the roads never led out. That's the thing. They looped. I drove in a straight line once for 45 minutes and ended up in the exact same town from the opposite direction. This town is folded, like a paper cube on a screen, a false dimension. And if you think this is just a dream or delusion, explain this. The next morning, I woke up in my bed, back in the house, phone charged, clothes folded, my mom making pancakes. She looked at me and said, "Lucas, you're going to be late for school." I stared at her. "You called me Levi." She smiled. "Don't be silly." My phone had no messages, no call history, no photos of Reed. His contact was gone. His existence was gone. I went to school in a daze. No one remembered him. Not the teachers, not the principal, not the one girl I knew had a crush on him because she wrote his name in her planner in red pen. But his name was erased. Blank pages, as if the ink itself got scared and ran. And then it got worse. Because during last period, I looked up at the speaker system, the one used for announcements. It was leaking, dripping this yellow-black fluid, like melted skin. No one else noticed. And then the PA cracked alive, and it said, in that same glitched voice, "Subject Lucas J. has failed integration. Commencing manual reformat." The whole class turned and looked at me. Their eyes changed, just for a second. Pupil dilation gone, like glass orbs, and they all smiled, together, at the same time. I blacked out. I woke up in the woods, duct-taped to a metal chair, in front of an old box TV, running nothing but static. The words on the screen. "Memory correction in progress." I screamed. I kicked. I sobbed. But no one came. The last thing I saw before I passed out was myself, or it, stepping out from the trees, wearing my hoodie, smiling, and it whispered, "You had your turn. Now it's mine." I woke up with blood in my mouth. Not a little. A pool. My gums were raw, like someone had been picking at them with pliers. My tongue felt too big for my mouth. I bit down instinctively, trying to feel if it was still mine. It was. Barely. The metal chair I was tied to was now tipped over, half buried in wet soil. The duct tape was gone, but my wrists had lines burned into them. The forest was quiet. Too quiet. Like all the animals left, or were told to. No birds, no wind, just a soft buzzing in the air, like a television on in another room. It wasn't until I stood up that I realized I wasn't alone. There were holes in the trees, perfect, symmetrical holes, like someone had taken an industrial coring drill and just extracted pieces of the forest. And inside the holes, skin, not human skin, too smooth, colorless, hanging like curtains, woven into the bark. No signs of decay, no smell, just impossibly clean, like the void had a janitor. There were also Polaroids nailed to tree trunks, all with the same caption written in red. "Static filled successfully." The pictures, people, but wrong. Faces blurred mid-motion, teeth too long. One had eyes under his eyelids, another had no mouth, but still managed to smile. Some looked like people I knew from school. One looked exactly like my dad, only his jaw was unhinged, like he'd been mid-scream forever. I found my photo too. Me, duct-taped to the chair, mouth open like I was yelling. But the version of me in the photo had empty black sockets for eyes and a smile that cut through both cheeks. The timestamp on the photo was 4:44:66. That's not even a real time. That's when I realized something. I was being reconstructed, like a corrupted file. Someone, something, was trying to stitch me back into the simulation, but it couldn't figure out what pieces to use. So it kept rebooting me in places it thought I belonged. School, my house, the woods, all fake, all stages, and in between those boots, I would glitch out, lose time, bleed, wake up in chairs I didn't sit in. The walk back into town didn't take hours like it should have. It took minutes, like the map of Havenbrook had been shrunk, warped into a loop where distance was just a suggestion. I walked past the Starbucks, now boarded up, black liquid seeping from under the door. The McDonald's marquee sign was still lit, but the letters had changed. Instead of, "Try the new double quarter pounder," it now read, "Try the new skin model 44, now with emotion patch." Inside the restaurant, I saw them, copies, sitting at booths, laughing, eating, only there was no food, just empty trays. They were miming behavior, running simulations. Every 60 seconds, they all laughed together, the exact same laugh, like a laugh track in a sitcom. No variance, no sound before or after, just timed joy. I stood outside, staring, when one of them turned to look at me, just snapped its head around 180 degrees, like its neck had no bones. Its mouth didn't move, but a voice came from it, directly into my head. "Lucas is expired. Leave Levi behind. Become noise." I ran. I didn't stop, didn't look back. I found myself outside my school again. This time it was closed. Not just closed for the night. Abandoned. Windows shattered. Doors bent inwards, like something escaped. Inside, the walls were covered in old-school projector slides. Pages from textbooks melted into the tiles. Lockers oozing something black that smelled like burnt rubber and bleach. In the gym, I found a circle of desks arranged around a single object. Reed's hoodie. Sitting in the middle, laid out like an offering. His name written in red Sharpie on the gym floor. Beneath it, a phrase repeated over and over. "They got his face right this time." Then I heard footsteps. Not one person. Dozens. Perfectly in sync. I ducked into the janitor's closet, slammed it shut, and peered through the slits in the metal. They walked in like a ceremony. Same kids from school. Blank eyes, limbs out of rhythm, like their bodies remembered how to move, but their programs hadn't updated yet. One of them was me, or close, slightly taller, skin too smooth, my eyes but too bright, teeth too white. He looked at the hoodie, knelt down, and put it on. Then he stood, slowly, jerkily, and said in a dead flat voice, "Lucas has been integrated." The others responded in perfect sync. "Levi has been deployed." And they all began to laugh, the same laugh, over and over, a feedback loop of fake joy echoing through the gym. Then everything went black again. I woke up in my bed, again, except this time, I knew it wasn't real. I moved my hand. It left a trail, like motion blur in a poorly rendered video. The air had that same buzzing. The lights flickered when I blinked. I walked into the kitchen. My mom, dad, and Mia were sitting at the table. Only wrong. Like mannequins copied from memory. Their heads twitched slightly every few seconds, like they were resetting. My mom's eyes kept rolling back and snapping forward. My dad blinked in two different rhythms. Mia just sat there, motionless, lips twitching like she was trying to say something, but her voice program was broken. I asked, "Where is the real Mia?" They all turned to me at once and said in perfect harmony, "The static ate her." Then I saw it, outside the window, standing across the street. Reed, but not Reed, not anymore. His body was reassembled wrong, arms too long, no fingernails, mouth stitched closed with black wire, but something behind the stitches was moving, pulsing, trying to get out. He tilted his head, and then the window shattered inward, even though nothing touched it. My family stood up in sync and said, "Welcome home, Levi." I don't know how I got out. I blacked out again. I think they sedated me with noise, because I woke up underground, in a concrete hallway lit by flickering fluorescent lights, cameras on every corner, signs written in code, and in the distance, the hum, the buzz, the static, not from machines, from people. They were lining the hallway, hooked up to wires, standing perfectly still, mouths wide open, projecting the static, skin pale, veins dark, eyes rolled back, but not unconscious, just repurposed. They were the servers, the memory banks, all the people who'd been erased. They didn't get buried, they got uploaded, and I was next. I ran until my lungs gave out, alarms blaring, a voice on the speakers repeating, "File error, integration failed, host resisting overwrite, terminate, terminate, terminate." I don't remember how I got to the surface, but when I did, Havenbrook was burning, or restarting. Buildings folding into themselves like origami, streets rearranging, people vanishing in flashes of white light, replaced by newer models, better smiling ones, less resistant. I'm in a motel now, 3 towns over, writing this on a burner laptop, no camera, no microphone, wrapped in foil and holy water if it helps. I don't know if I'm still real. I don't know if I'm still Lucas, but something inside me is screaming that I was never supposed to remember. If you're reading this and you recognize anyone in Havenbrook, if someone calls you by a name that isn't yours, if your mirror glitches for half a second, you're next. The motel room walls aren't real. I know that now. They're breathing, slow, almost imperceptible rises and falls, like lungs too big to see all at once. When the air conditioning kicks on, I can hear voices inside the vent. Not whispers, just fragments, like someone played my memories through a broken tape deck and fed it back through the pipes. Over the last 2 nights, the ceiling has lowered by 3 inches. I measured, and I haven't slept since I got here. Not because I'm scared. No, fear is long gone. What's left now is something colder, something deeper, like being buried alive inside a copy of your own skull. You don't scream because there's no mouth. You don't run because there's no legs. You just float in the error. They know where I am. They've always known. But before I'm taken, again, I have to tell you what happened, what is happening, what you need to burn into your brain with fire and wire before it happens to you. Because the thing in Havenbrook, it's not a town, it's not a government project, it's not a simulation, it's a factory. After I escaped the bunker and watched the town fold in on itself, I thought I was safe. I was wrong. 3 towns over, in a rundown motel outside Spokane, I found a room that didn't have a mirror. I thought that would keep them out. But you can't keep out frequency. You can't hide from something that lives in static. The second night, I found something slipped under the door. No knock, no sound, just a single receipt from a gas station in Havenbrook, dated 2 hours in the future. Items purchased: 1 roll of duct tape, zip ties, 1 Polaroid camera, 1 Lucas replacement kit, Model B. I vomited, not just from fear, from realization, because this entire time I thought I was running from a place, a program, a mistake. But I wasn't. I was the mistake. I was the error file. When Reed and I went digging, when we found that photo on the dark web, when we saw the U-Haul time-stamped before we moved, I thought we were uncovering truth, but we were triggering a rollback. You see, Havenbrook doesn't erase people. It doesn't kill them. That would be too messy, too human. It replicates, overwrites, runs the simulation again, each time better, smoother, less defective. And me? I was a glitch, a leftover process from a failed loop. Not even Lucas J. I never existed. I was born from a corrupted save state, spat out between code that was meant to clean itself. A ghost in a system that doesn't allow ghosts. I found a man 2 days ago, just wandering a Walmart parking lot. No ID, no shoes, bleeding from the ears. He grabbed me, whispered one sentence in my ear, then bit off his own tongue. He said, "We're all just echoes of better versions." Then he fell backward, dead. No wound, no blood, no trauma, just deleted, like someone highlighted him and pressed backspace. I checked local news the next day. No mention. Security cam footage, static. I tried to log into my Gmail from the motel Wi-Fi. Account doesn't exist. Tried Snapchat. My Bitmoji was blank. My username had been changed to usernull422d9. No memories on Instagram. No tagged photos. All my old DMS showed the other person talking to themselves. There was never a me on the other end. I started noticing them outside. Not people. Shells. Wearing faces like Halloween masks. Standing in the parking lot. Every night. At exactly 3:33 a.m. Always 5 of them. Always perfectly still. I tried taking a picture once. My phone caught fire in my hand. Real fire. Battery imploded. The screen bled out black fluid that smelled like teeth. They moved closer the next night. I locked every window, every door. I poured salt around the bed, even though I knew that only worked on demons, not corrupted builds. But then I heard it again. That same buzz, the same hum that doesn't come from anywhere, but lives inside your bones. It wasn't until I turned on the motel TV, just to drown out the sound, that I saw myself live. On the screen, sitting in the same room, wearing my clothes, typing. He turned toward the camera slowly and smiled. Then he said, "You've served your purpose. Uploading final version." I tried to leave, packed my stuff, rushed to the front desk, but the clock was gone. Just a wax mannequin in its place, melting under the flickering exit sign. The lobby windows looked outside, but everything beyond the glass was pitch black, like the world hadn't rendered yet. I stepped out the front door and found nothing, just black grid lines, like the floor plan of a game before the textures load. And from the darkness, they emerged, faceless, featureless, wearing versions of people I've known. My 4th grade teacher, the guy who used to deliver our DoorDash in Idaho, my sister Mia, but all wrong. Mia walked up to me and held out a Polaroid. I didn't want to take it, but I had to. The photo was of me, tied to a metal chair. Again, caption, final format, static sealed. She opened her mouth. Instead of a voice, a siren came out, deafening, like the emergency alert system made of screams. My ears bled instantly. My vision cracked. The world around me shattered like glass. And now I'm here. The motel is gone. The town is gone. Even Haven Brook is gone. I exist in a white void with a single monitor in front of me. The screen just loops one line of text. "You were the error. Thank you for your service." The walls pulse. The chair beneath me is made of spinal cords woven into metal. The keyboard I'm typing on isn't real. It's bones. Mine, yours, ours, from the versions of me that didn't survive the formatting. Every word I write is uploaded to them. You've already read too much. They know your IP now. They're building your version next. Cleaner, smarter, easier to overwrite. You'll blink one day and your dog won't recognize you. You'll hear your mom laugh a second too late. You'll see a Polaroid of yourself somewhere you've never been. And when you ask your reflection why it blinked first, you'll hear it say, "Lucas is gone. You're next."